We're back, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. We're here with our second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. Hopefully you tuned in to episode 2689, which was yesterday's show. If not, you're still in the right place. That's okay. We're going over 6 more questions from our health-based community. Would love to be able to have you follow along. You can follow along at stephencabral.com/2690 for today's questions. On the weekends, we answer about a dozen questions, all things health and wellness and anti-aging and weight loss and weight gain and so much more. So once again, thanks for tuning into the show. Let's get started with your questions. First one is from Kelsey. Kelsey says, hi, another question. Is there anything that will show up in blood work to indicate colon cancer? Great question. Thanks so much for writing in. And what I would say is this, typically not. Your PCP or doctor needs to send for specific blood work in order to look for markers that would be indicative of colon-based cancer. The one thing that you could see certain things. So it really depends on the labs that you're running. But for standard, typical, once a year annual blood work, you may see elevated levels of white blood cells. Probably wouldn't affect your complete blood count by a great degree. You might see issues in your eosinophils or lymphocytes, etc. What else? You're not going to see too much else, not specific markers. Now, I've talked about this on previous shows. What you can do is run what's called the GRAIL test. And that actually is over 50 different, let's call it organ-based system proteins that looks for specific types of cancers that marks it to different areas of the body. It's pretty remarkable. It's expensive. I'm not going to say that it's not, but to run that yearly or maybe every 3 to 5 years, depending on your age, pretty remarkable. I mean, it really is. And when you start to combine that with full body MRI, you're getting a really good diagnosis of the body. So check out my previous show on the GRAIL test. Go to stephencabral.com/podcast, type in GRAIL, and actually type in gallery as well. GRAIL gallery test, GALLERI, and you'll be able to find it. We teach all of these lab tests, what to run on an annual basis in one concise format at highperformancehealth.org. Definitely recommend checking that out as well. It is literally state-of-the-art life extension, anti-aging, all the things that you can do for the general public as well as practitioners who want to learn more about it. All right, thanks Kelsey for writing in. All right, and then just for colon cancer, I talked about this yesterday. It's called the FIT test. You can run it right at home. Again, I wouldn't be the only thing that I do, but it's a really nice one. It's only $39, and so it's a nice one to look at as well. And you can run that on your own. It's called the FIT test, the fecal immunochemical test. All right, and I did a podcast review on that as well. Again, I always try to share these things on Fridays. Rosie's up next, 38-year-old Vada female, history of ulcerative colitis. In 2012, I had a colectomy, J-pouch surgeries, never felt well after that. Found the root cause of my issues was surgery that was done wrong. Elostomy, reconnection, and now I cannot empty to use the bathroom. Mild stricture of scar tissue was found on the rectum and pelvis floor. Let's see what else. I don't feel I have a need to go to the bathroom, and when I try, I can't. Prune juice is getting me through the day. Started pelvic physical therapy, but curious how else to support my healing, specifically reestablishing the recto-anal inhibitory reflex. I also have lingering nerve damage on my abdomen from surgery 8 months ago. Could the two issues be connected? I'm taking omega-3s, vitamin D, NeuroRenew, magnesium, and red light. Okay, yeah, happy to help with this, and I'm sorry to hear about the difficulty with surgery. And, that is the challenge. Surgery is often needed. Like, sometimes you just have to have it. The problem with surgery is that it doesn't always go perfectly well. The other problem with surgery is that you can't take it back. That's the hard thing. So when you need to have it, you need to have it. And I'm not denying that, right? So I have to give you my disclaimer. I'm not here to provide any medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, or medical diagnosis of any kind. But I am here to share with you, hopefully, second opinions, different ways to look at this, and hopefully how we can help going forward. So, at least you're on the right path with taking the, prune-based juice that you're doing. Omega-3s are a great choice. the vitamin D, the magnesium, great choices. You might want to look at something like an alkalizing vitamin C. Again, you have to clear all these things with your doctor. That will get the bowels moving as well. Now, the other part for nerve-based, the magnesium you're already doing, the vitamin D, the omega, those are my top choices. So you're doing great there. Another big one is ginger. Ginger has actually been shown to help people with IBS, IBD to better regulate the bowels. And so is something else called 5-HTP. Now, because part of the issue may be a lack of production of serotonin, which doesn't help with that peristalsis. Now, in my opinion, there's probably an actual scar tissue issue that actually affected, with an A, affected potentially the nerve there, which is signaling for you to actually have a bowel movement. So, my goal is using everything, right, that we can. So that would be my recommendation. And and please write back, if we can help with anything else as well. Rocco's up next. Hi, Stephen. I take fish oil, but my girlfriend keeps telling me to stop as it is not good for me as it's a polyunsaturated fat. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Note, I buy a high-quality product that is from wild-caught fish. Yeah, so this is one of those things that it's such outside of the onion thinking, and I'm not saying that to be condescending in any way. But if you look at the data, like the actual data on the longest lived people in the world, their diet has polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats in it, with a preference towards monounsaturated fats, such as olive oil and certain nuts and seeds. But their diet absolutely does contain some nuts and seeds and fish and other things that would have some omega-6s in there as well. Here's the issue. The issue is with the oxidation of polyunsaturated fats. So what people have done is they've taken the research from oxidized polyunsaturated fats, such as like vegetable oils, and they've somehow attributed that then to all polyunsaturated fats or monounsaturated fats, when we know that the longest lived people in the world, literally all of the studied longest lived people, have a diet. Now, their diet's not more than 30% fat, so that's something to look at as well, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. Fish oil is one of the most, if not the most, well-studied, scientifically verified nutritional supplement. So much so that even conventional medicine believes in it, that they've turned it into a prescription-based drug as well. Now, of course, I don't believe in that they shouldn't use that form. You want to look for a triglyceride-bound, cold-processed, mercury-free, wild-caught variety or sustainably caught fish. So that's what you want. And that has literally, if you look at all of the top scientists and you look at all of the top doctors, they all recommend in their practice because they know the efficacy, they know the outcomes, and they know the research. They're not looking at the fringe people who believe they've discovered something that nobody else has, which is fish oil is bad for them. So I think we have to be, really careful with that. Now, we don't want to overdo it. There were people back in the day, my day, late 90s, early 2000s, recommending like literally a gram per percentage of body fat, which was wild, like wild. Or they recommend, 10 grams a day. No, we're recommending 1 to 3 grams a day, with most people, most adults taking 2 grams a day. Higher EPA than DHA. I would check out Equalife's daily omega-3 support. No better product with more efficacy. Nobody does more at-home lab testing for before and after ratios of omega-3s than we do. So, I would just be careful with that because most people have a wildly high omega-6 to omega-3 diet. And I don't like to come between relationships, and I feel like I'm doing that right now. But just have the both of you test your omega-6 to omega-3 levels. We even offer a free lab test to show people this is so important. Go to stephencabral.com/ I think it's free-lab. To be honest with you, I don't really know, but I believe that's it. And this might not be available in the future, but we offer 100 free a month from people that have never done at-home lab testing to just show them the efficacy of at-home lab testing. You don't need to use our omega-3 product. You absolutely don't. Use the lab test. Get the data. Understand that you can test these things. I could go on a rant all day, but I'm very passionate about this because there's so much misinformation out there for people that are not clinicians, that don't actually read all the science. They just cherry pick what they want. Yeah, I don't believe in oxidized polyunsaturated fats either. But certainly I believe in good omega-3 fish oil, that's for sure. Not overdoing it, but yeah, for sure. Anyway, okay, I got to move on. Lewis is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I've been diagnosed with hypercalcemia and dyspepsia by my GI. My latest blood work came back with calcium and glucose levels at over 11. I'm not finding any podcasts on the topic, so I wanted to ask what you can recommend. I have an appointment with an endocrinologist next month for this. I do take quite of magnesium, including oxy powder, oxygen-based magnesium, full-spectrum magnesium, magglycinate powder, both from Equalite and CalMag powder, all on a daily basis. I'm also currently taking vitamin K2 complex. Despite all of this, I still find myself constipated on a daily basis with much stomach discomfort. I also have recently developed pain in my upper GI, which I suspect could be gallbladder issues. Coffee enemas don't seem to help much. Thanks. Okay. Yeah, happy to help. Again, can't provide medical advice, but I would look at a couple things. So first, I'm looking at higher levels of cortisol and stress, potentially leading to hypercalcemia. Okay. The second, I'm looking at low stomach acid or stomach acid imbalances. You're seeing a GI, which is good. You want them to look for a hiatal hernia. You also want them to look for H. pylori infection. If they didn't look for that, we can't check for the hiatal hernia, but I recommend running, like if you only run one lab, please do this. Run the bacteria and parasite stool test. If you can run two, run the stress, mood, and metabolism. That's what I'm recommending right out of the gates. If you want to scan, again, I'm recommending it. It's not inexpensive. I'm not saying that it is. But if you run a full body MRI or even just a torso MRI, it will tell you if you have gallstones. You might be able to do an ultrasound for that as well. Find out if you have gallbladder stones or gallstones. These are important things to look at. These are really important things that you know. Because you're using the nutritional supplements, which is great, but remember, it's the de-stress protocol that I wrote about in the rain barrel effect. Diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, emotional balance, scientifically backed supplements, and a success mindset, right? That's how we heal. Supplements is one of the 8, all right? Thank you, Lewis, for writing in. Hopefully that was helpful. Brandy's up next. When I exercise and don't shower immediately, are the toxins in my sweat reabsorbed through my skin? Great question, and the answer is not the vast majority. So not the vast majority. Some can be, but most likely not. Here's what we recommend. When people get out of a sauna or they exercise, that they just towel dry, like immediately, just towel dry. For the most part, as long as you're not continuing to sweat, you will have wiped off a lot and most of those potential heavy metals or different toxins. But remember, the heat itself can also kill a lot of these pathogens, and when you sweat them out, they're not necessarily going to be reabsorbed. Like you can actually sweat out mycotoxins, mold-based particles, etc., and you're not really reabsorbing those. So just that's the good news. Could you reabsorb some heavy metals? Yeah, you could. Like that's possible. Not as likely, but still possible. And so I would say I wouldn't. I don't want to use that pun. I'm not gonna say don't sweat it. I'm not gonna say that. So what I'm gonna say is I wouldn't worry too much about it, and I would just do your best. Like that's it. So towel off, right? Don't not exercise and sweat because you're worried about reabsorbing those toxins. It's a good question, though. I appreciate that question. All right, Erica's up next. I tried searching through the podcast, but couldn't find one on this. So if you answered this before, sorry for the repetition. Never apologize. No worries at all. All right? Anyways, I'm currently planning some projects for my background and backyard and wanted to get a fire pit. I see 2 main options, a wood fire pit or a gas fire pit. A gas fire pit seems more convenient for me, but I wanted to ask if you think this would have health ramifications. For example, I heard that outdoor gas stoves have links to health issues, but then again, the fire pit would be outdoors, more ventilation, and only used occasionally. So I just want to get your opinion on this. Thanks. Great question. Happy to answer this. I always share with you when I am not an expert in this area, and I am not an expert in this area. However, I have read the research on gas stoves inside using basically a natural gas, not necessarily a propane. And yes, those can give off gas, a lot of volatile organic compounds, and those are not necessarily healthy. However, what we have here, though, is really an outdoor ventilated area where we don't need to worry about as much. So think about it. Even if you cooked with your fireplace inside, that smoke is still a carcinogen, right? So anytime we are really cooking, we are creating some carcinogens in the air. If you purchase the air quality monitor that I recommended on a previous Friday review, you know that when you cook, there's often CO2 that raises, and so do volatile organic compounds. That's why it's great to open a window. Great to have a hood vent, but great to open a window when you're cooking too. Okay, so how can I answer this? I would say that it is a pick'em, that you enjoy whatever you enjoy. I have a fire pit at my place. I love it. Do I use it that often? Maybe once a week. But it's also ventilated, and I use real wood. I just enjoy the crackling of the real fire, all that, making the fire yourself. But if you're choosing between a gas fireplace outside and a wood fireplace, I honestly would do whatever you enjoy and enjoy it, right? So that's what it's all about. All right, that is our Cabral House Calls for this weekend. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into the show. Thank you for all of your reviews and subscribes to the show. If you haven't subscribed or reviewed the show, I would love you to do that. Again, I thank you. I appreciate you. I'll be back tomorrow with our Mindset and Motivation Monday. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.